Hello, coming at you with the very last Milli Fox Show episode of 2021. What a year it's been! It's been a crazy year of polarity, of extremely different experiences, and a lot of growth and expansion and shedding of all sorts of different things and in different areas. I know it has been really for everyone, probably on the entire planet, because there's no way when you're faced with a situation quite like the one we've been faced with that you can't look at things differently. You know what I mean? So I just want everybody to give themselves a pat on the back for making it through. Whether you feel you've done well or not, doesn't matter. But I just want you to give yourself that, little acknowledgement that we all deserve. And I want to talk about what this year has been like for myself, as well as what I've learned from it. So, really, as you can tell from the title of the episode, quantum leaps are overrated. And that's what I've learned from this year. And I don't want to sound, pessimistic or that I'm saying that you don't want to aim for the stars, because that's absolutely not what I teach at all. But I do want to just remove the pressure, and I want to be realistic about what quantum leaps can look like and why maybe that's not actually what you desire. Because I've gone through some really massive changes this year, and it's been wholly amazing. And at the same time, I've realized a lot of things. So this year, what has happened? Let's start back in January, and I'm not going to give you this really lengthy overview of everything that's gone down in the year, but January of 2021 was when I dove full time into my coaching business. And if you guys don't really know me from prior to this year, I was actually running and founded a baby carrier business that was called Junior Foxes, and it's still around. I sold it to a wonderful woman who lives down in Jupiter, Florida, and she is carrying on the legacy of Junior Foxes ring slings. You can find it on Instagram. It's a beautiful company. I'm very proud of it. And so I sold that and dove full time into coaching. Coaching was something I've always wanted to do. I went to school for psychology and wanted to become a life coach at the age of, I think, 22, but delayed for fear that I didn't have enough life experience. So I dabbled in different iterations of coaching for over 10 years, into fitness coaching and nutrition coaching, and then eventually came back around to the original desire of life coaching. So dove into that full time in January, and really just learned so much right out of the get-go. I thought I would have like massive success right from the beginning, because I had done so much studying and work into preparing for this for a long time. And what I learned was it wasn't just an overnight success, which was totally fine, because I still have had really massive success this year. I have had several 5-figure and multiple 5-figure months. Not every single one has hit the 5-figure mark, but multiple. And the last, 3 or 4 bank statements have all been over 5 figures. So very, very proud of the first year that I have created this business that I've created. And the souls really is it for me. The souls that I have been able to touch, that I've been able to affect, the perspectives that I've been able to shift, and the people who are just showing up and living their lives in such courageous ways. That's what it really is about for me. It's been my inspiration since I was about 7 years old, was to help people. Started when I would sit my parents down at the dinner table and try to help them work out their problems. Been a high achiever from a very young age. So January was when I made this big shift, and like I said, I'm not going to give you this chronological sort of series of events, but looking back on that, it has been a series of trial and error. I thought I had all the right answers right from the very beginning. And I think that when we see people who have massive success, we assume that they just had a smash hit right out of the get-go, right out of the gate. And this is most of the time not true. Most of the time, people coming into new things, they either have a ton of experience that is relevant that we don't realize has been relevant, or it's been one of those situations where they just were so clear on what it was they wanted to do, and that clarity of who they wanted to serve and the exact message they wanted to bring to the world and exactly how they wanted to bring that message to the world was very clear to them. And for me, I had to do a little bit of going with the flow to figure out exactly what that message was going to be for me and how it all came together. So the reason I'm sharing this stuff with you guys is because I want you to, as you're listening to this, realize that it's not a consolation prize when someone tells you that it's about the journey, and that the failure is required and all that stuff, because really you wouldn't just be able to arrive at the end point if you hadn't figured the things out along the way. The puzzle pieces would have been shoved together rather than perfectly fitting into this beautiful picture, because you needed then the picture revealed to you bit by bit. You couldn't just boom put it all together, or else it would be mishmashed, and it wouldn't actually feel the way you're hoping it's going to feel. So giving yourself grace is really the most important part. Giving yourself compassion is really the most important part that I want to really drive home with you, because there's no use in shaming yourself for a lack of progress. There's no use in feeling like it wasn't good enough or it didn't count unless it was massive, unless it was a quantum leap. And I've seen so many women around me have these incredible quantum leaps in the last year. And I thought to myself, well, if they can do it, I should be able to do it. Now, listen to the way I phrase that. I didn't say if they can do it, I can do it. If they can do it, I should be able to do it too, right? So the difference there is, one is empowering, I can do it too. And one is, I should be able to do it too. That's the pressure. That's the, if I don't do it, there's something that's wrong with me. If I don't do it, I don't measure up, and then it puts you into the comparison game rather than allowing those people to be expanders for you, right? To let you know what's possible. It's like, oh, well, I'm in a race with these people, or I should be as good as they are, which all of these things are just total falsehoods that we put into our own brains that really don't help, because shaming ourselves is a waste of energy. When we get into shaming, we're really just focused on resistance. We're focused on what we don't want. And that takes the energy away from our manifestations. It takes our energy away from focusing on what we do want. And the expression is, what we focus on expands, So we want to be focusing on what we can do and what we're excited about doing and what the next best step for us is, and doing the best we can in each moment, and not constantly feeling like we can't measure up. Okay. I know that little bit of doubt creeps in sometimes. I know it. And all you have to do is, oh, look, I recognize that I'm having these doubtful thoughts. I acknowledge them. I can investigate what the story is that I'm telling myself about the said situation. And then I need to nurture myself. And the most nurturing question, the most compassionate question you can ask yourself is, what do I need? Right. And you can also express gratitude towards yourself, gratitude for having the level of awareness to have recognized that you are doing the doubting thing. And then forgiveness towards yourself is so healing, so powerful. Forgiving the part of you that was trying to hold you back, forgiving the part of you who thought it was keeping you safe, and even expressing gratitude towards that part of you that is doing, said perceived sabotaging behaviors. Because really, truly, I've come to believe there isn't any true self-sabotage, because when we think about those parts of us that are doing the things, the ego parts or the small parts of us that are doing the things that don't actually serve our highest good, they are still trying to protect us. They're still trying to keep us safe, which in, the big picture of things, that is a good intention, right? It's the best of intentions. And we all know about like the parent who tries to keep the kids safe by trying to keep them sheltered and telling them not to go after their dreams because, it's risky and blah, blah, blah. So we have to be grateful to those parts of ourselves, and we also have to forgive those parts of ourselves. And that is extremely compassionate. And recognize also at the same time that what we focus on expands. So we need to just do the shift where we acknowledge, we give gratitude, we give forgiveness, and then we choose again. And we ask, what would I really, truly love? What do I really want my life to look like? And what I do in these situations, I ask myself, what do I really want my life to look like? And then I set priorities. I ask myself, what are my top 3 priorities in making this a reality, right? So it's kind of like goals, I want to accomplish A, B, and C. So for me this year, it was, I want to launch a podcast. That is a priority of mine. And then underneath that priority, I will ask myself, what are the top 2, maximum 3 action steps that will give me the highest amount of impact towards, making that priority happen, or, advancing towards that priority becoming a reality. And I do this because I don't want to overwhelm myself. I don't want to look at this big picture of all these crazy amount of steps that I have to accomplish in order to, get to the quote unquote finish line. So I'll have 2 or 3 priorities, and I'll have 2 or 3 maximum tasks that are high impact tasks. And I trust that all the rest of the details will fall into place. Now, I want to go back to this idea of quantum leaping again, because the quantum leap is like this massive, huge, unexplainable leap in progress that can only be explained by basically like manifestation and calling things in from the realm of infinite possibility. And I do believe that I have accessed that, in this year. I've had, some pretty massive months in terms of revenue. And also we manifested a move to Miami. We didn't even know if we would ever move to Miami, but for years, my husband was saying like, we should move to Miami. It would be so awesome to move to Miami. And I was always kind of like, yeah, we probably won't, but maybe we'll get a vacation place there one day. But yeah, wouldn't that be fun? And then we just started talking about it more and more. And for those of you who have been following me, you will know that I was in Miami. We were in Miami for the last almost 4 months, and we have recently returned back to Canada. And this was a quantum leap for us because it was something that we did not think we were prepared for. We didn't even know we were doing it, to be honest. We left thinking that we were going to go for like maybe 2 months, ended up staying for 4, and started the whole visa process and everything to just pack up and move there permanently. And we very quickly, very recently, spontaneously decided to put the brakes on this plan, to bring this plan to a halt. We decided to come home for Christmas and stay home. And there were a lot of thoughts going through my head as I was processing this change of plans. And it was really in large part initiated by myself. And I was loving Miami. I think it's an absolutely wonderful place and it suits us very, very well. But I was listening to my heart. I was listening to how I felt energetically. And I had conversations with my husband about it, how, yeah, it was the dream, it's the dream. And also, I was listening to a masterclass maybe a few weeks ago or a month ago. And in the masterclass, what was said about quantum leaps really reframed things for me. That when you make a quantum leap, there are steps that you don't go through. You don't go along the path, the predictable path, or even the unpredictable path from A to B, So there's steps that get missed. And there's tools and learnings that get missed along the way when you quantum leap. So you get to this destination, you get to this next level, your quantum next level, and you realize, whoa, there's some stuff I could have used. There's some things I wish I would have known, and either you just continue to go forward, you push forward, maybe it's all good and it works for you, or maybe it causes you to crash and burn because you just are hanging on to this outcome with such intensity that you lose focus of what's actually really important. And I'm not saying that's what happened to us. I'm just saying that I started to notice that if we were to stay, that it could feel that way, that it could feel like we were gripping to an idea that was actually feeling like pretty challenging. We went through a lot of stuff in Miami, including several illnesses. Kids were getting sick constantly, no family, couldn't find the right place to live. It just was feeling like a struggle, right? What you resist persists, and nothing you want really is upstream, which is like expressions I constantly go through my head, nothing I want is upstream. And it felt like it was an upstream battle to stay in Miami. And I know sometimes, a little bit of struggle is not a bad thing. And sometimes we have to really work for what we desire. But another thing in the manifestation world is if it feels like relief, you're moving in the right direction. So when I proposed coming home and not coming back for, the foreseeable time, that felt like relief. It felt like relief to my husband. It felt like relief to me. And there was a part of me that was like, oh, well, are people going to think that we gave up on the dream? But the truth is, we have not given up on the dream. We've just decided to follow our hearts. We've decided to listen to what feels right in our energy. And right now, that energy says, come home and be home for a period of time so that you can go through the motions of what, needs to actually be done before you can take that plunge. And this is a tricky conversation, really, when you think about it, because oftentimes we will trip ourselves up. We will hold ourselves back with all these excuses as to why you're not ready yet. You know what I mean? And that can be out of fear, and that can be out of a place of scarcity, right? And the way to distinguish whether it's out of a place of scarcity or a place of being true to yourself and listening to your heart is only going to be found within you. You can only answer that question for yourself. You have to develop a very honest relationship with yourself. You have to be able to have those conversations and get in touch with your intuition. And sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes we don't have certainty. Is it right? Is it wrong? Am I doing this out of fear? Am I not? But in this particular situation, my husband and I do not feel like coming home for a period of time was out of fear at all. It felt very right. It felt very abundant to come home and be around family and be in Ontario. And it it wasn't set, nothing is set in stone for us. So we didn't say, oh, we're throwing our hands up. No, we're going home. We're not doing this. Miami's off, canceled, forget about it. We just said, we're coming home to figure things out. It feels better for us to be home now. So we are going to go home and we are going to navigate from there. We are going to do the things that we need to do, figure out what we want to do with our house, figure out if we want to make the move full time, or if we actually do just desire a vacation property, or what. And pause, time to acknowledge the privilege going on right here. We have a variety of different levels of privilege, even to be having these thoughts, to be having these conversations, to be able to have the location freedom, the time freedom, all of the above, recognizing the huge privilege here, the huge privilege, and also the choices we've made in the previous 10 to 15 years that have led up to this moment. So it's not just, spur of the moment, throw caution to the wind and, risk everything, put yourself into a fight or flight state, traumatize yourself, get yourself into a really feeling of unsafety in your body to like make this massive quantum leap. I don't want to encourage that either. Everybody has a different safety line. Everybody has a different level of tolerance for risk. So really, ultimately, this just comes back down to cultivating a relationship with yourself of trust, cultivating an honest relationship with yourself where you can have these conversations and maybe open up your journal and get really honest with yourself about your motivation and your intention as to why you want something or why you're deciding to give up on something or not pursue something anymore or change directions. I've changed directions in my career several times already. And there has been this lingering question. Am I doing it because I didn't see success quickly enough? Is it because I didn't feel like I did that thing perfectly enough? And so I decided that I needed to change courses and switch courses and come at it from an entirely new angle and throw at everything that I'd done previously. And that was an honest conversation I really needed to have. And there was an element of that within each iteration of what I'd done previously. But honestly, no, each step that I've taken felt very sort of logical to me in the moment, apart from launching a baby carrier business that kind of came out of left field, but it made sense for me at the time because I wanted to stay at home with Rosen when he was a baby and I didn't want to have to take client appointments or anything like that. And I learned a hell of a lot from that experience. So it did fit into the bigger picture in a different way. But it's honestly, if I can tell you anything that I've learned in the past however many years, and especially this year, is that number one, compassion is your most valuable tool to lean back on, because shame, the opposite of compassion, I believe, is shame. The opposite of compassion is not going to help you manifest anything. It is a waste of your time. So the more you can lean into compassion, the quicker you're going to move through whatever it is you're trying to move through, and the faster you'll be able to manifest. Number two, trust. Cultivating trust within yourself, cultivating trust and honesty. Trust and honesty, they go hand in hand, right? Being able to be really honest with yourself and to ask yourself and to go 7 layers deep around your motivations, your desires, your decisions, all of that jazz. And then number three, I didn't even know I was doing like bullet points here, but here I am just going with the flow. Number three lesson that I've learned from 2021 and beyond is that it's okay to be where you're at. It's okay to be where you're at. Quantum leap doesn't have to be the standard for success. You might not even actually want the quantum leap that you feel like you want, because, we just see what other people are doing and we're like, oh, well, if they can do it, or look at that, that looks so glamorous. But the question has to be, what do I really want? What are my values? That's another thing that I've dove into pretty deeply in 2021 is, what are my values? My values are family, first and foremost, and freedom. So time freedom, location freedom, freedom to be myself, and luxury. You guys know I'm in for luxury, and that's not just about luxury things. It's about luxury living, about abundance. Abundance and luxury to me are pretty much one and the same. Abundant living, which means pleasure, which means presence, enjoying the moment, joy. All of those things are rolled into luxury for me, as well as, courage and authenticity. So this is what I've been striving for, and what I'm carrying into 2022 are my values. I'm not making a resolution for 2022. I'm focusing on, how can I live in more alignment with my values? What are the principles that I operate off of? And really getting clear on those things, and basically having like a mission statement based around my own true personal values. So getting clear on what your values are is another super helpful tool for going into the new year, and getting really clear on if your desires are in alignment with your values, because that is the only true way to know that our desires are based out of our truth and not out of a should, or out of comparison, or out of some kind of like, I gotta prove it energy. So that's it, guys. That is my full wrap up, year in review. Quantum leaps are overrated. They're still great. I'm very grateful for the quantum leaps that I have gone through this year, but just a cautionary sort of word for you. And also, if you have not yet, I have an incredible new 5-minute manifestation method for moms, because you know that none of us have any freaking time. I know I don't have 20 minutes a day to go sit and visualize like so many of the, old white guy manifestation teachers will tell you to do, or even up to an hour. I'm like, yeah, LOL. Not going to happen. So this 5-minute manifestation method is literally as it sounds. It's a 5-minute recording for you, along with a workbook with 2-minute journal prompts. So this is getting down and dirty. It's distilling manifestation into what really matters, and how to use manifestation more as an operating system than something on your to-do list. And that's the way I teach manifestation, because I'm a mom of 2 under 5, and I get it. I know that we cannot have all these lengthy routines and rituals, and we can't be expected to aspire to these unrealistic standards of women who don't have children teaching manifestation, or these, like I said, old white guys, or even women that do have children but just really enjoy the hustle. Because for me, that's not me. I don't want to be working 5+ days a week. I really just desire to have that time freedom. Freedom is the value, family is the value. That's the vibe. That's where it's at. So you can find the link to it in the show notes, of course. And it's also at the link in my bio all the time on Instagram. Come say hi to me on Instagram. If you love this episode, take a screenshot right now, tag me, share it to the socials. I truly appreciate that. And I know that you're going to hear it more than once, but give me a little rate and review as a little end of year present. I would be super duper lit up and happy, because that's what helps the podcast reach more people, is when there's more ratings and more reviews. So go ahead and do that right now for me. I thank you so, so much. And I hope you have an absolutely fabulous New Year's. Bye, guys.